everybody, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you guys are new. For today's tutorial, I decided to do a soft glam sort of tutorial with emphasis on the lashes, but I kept it super natural everywhere else. I'm using my model Hailey. She's actually my sister-in-law and she is gorgeous, so I decided to use her for this. I am starting out by prepping her skin and just wiping off any excess makeup or oils that she has, and using the Bioderma Micellar Cleansing Water. It's my favorite prep step, and I just use that with a cotton pad. Next, I'm taking a flat foundation brush and going in with moisturizer. She's a little bit on the drier side, so I decided to prep her with moisturizer, and it's also going to serve as a primer as well. I'm using the Saturday Skin Glacier Water Cream. I think that's what it's called. It was in a BoxyCharm that I got, and I really enjoy it. Now I'm moving on to the brows. I'm just taking my double-ended brow brush here and just kind of using the spoolie side to brush those brow hairs into place before I start filling them in. As you can tell, she has quite a bit of brow hairs and they're a little bit longer, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't overly draw in her brows because otherwise they could look very, very intense. I used the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade in the shade Soft Brown, and I went ahead and just filled in her brows a little bit. Again, just filling in the sparse areas. I wanted to make sure I put a little bit more emphasis on the tail end of her brows to make sure that she has a defined shape to them. Then I went in with the brow soap, and I don't know what this one is necessarily called. I got it off of Amazon. I will be linking it down below, and I just took it, sprayed it with some water, and then took it on a spoolie to kind of basically just set all the brow hairs in place. Then I'm taking one of my brushes here. This is actually a artist brush, like literally what you use for paints. And it serves really, really well as a crease brush, so I decided to use it as a concealer brush for me. I'm taking the P. Louise base in the shade Rumor 0.5, and then I mixed it a little bit with shade 2 as well. She's a little bit more on the fair side, so I decided to give it a little bit more of a lighter touch to it, so it kind of highlighted a little bit more. I'm just using this to kind of carve up underneath the brow to kind of define the shape a little bit more. I usually like to do this step because in case I mess up and get out of line a little bit with my brow products, then I can use this to clean up any sort of mishap that I have, basically. So I'm putting it all over a lid to act as an eyeshadow primer, and as you guys may know, P. Louise bases, you don't use any sort of powder on top of them, like you don't set them with anything. So I'm just using a clean, fluffy brush there and just patting out the excess product to make sure I don't have any clumps. Next, I'm taking the Viseart Neutral Mattes palette, and I zoomed in a little bit closer so you could see the eyeshadow application. I'm only taking one single transition color. I believe it's the mid-tone tan shade in the palette. I'll have to link it because I'm not really sure exactly what shade it was. But I just used one of the transition colors, and I'm just using it to build up in the crease. And then I am also going in with a little flat definer brush by MAC, and I'm using the black matte shadow in that palette. I'm basically doing this step in replacement to eyeliner. I'm not using any sort of eyeliner in this process because I just wanted to keep it as natural as possible. So I'm using the matte shadow right across her lash line and just smoking it out just a little bit so we have a little bit of smokiness, especially when we put the lashes on. And I'm just evening out the other side here. And this is a really good step also if you guys don't want eyeliner transferring or anything. Sometimes you just use shadows like this and it makes it a little bit more user-friendly. Next, I'm going in with mascara. You did not see me apply it to the other eye because I literally was in front of the camera like I am right now. So now I'm applying lashes, and I just basically put on some AliExpress lashes. I will have to also link those down below too because their style names are really random numbers and letters, so sometimes I don't know what they're called. Next, I'm going in with the NARS foundation. I went in with the shade Mont Blanc and mixed it with Charlotte Tilbury's Hollywood Flawless Filter in the shade 1. And I mixed those together for more of a glowy base here. Again, she has more dry skin, so I wanted to have something that was a fuller coverage, but something that didn't look super, super heavy. And I wanted a little bit of a glow to her skin, so that's exactly what these two paired together looks like. So I'm just taking it on that little flat artist brush there that I had, and I'm just using a foundation brush here. This foundation brush is literally a dream. It's one of the Pro Face foundation brushes, and I got it really inexpensively off of Amazon. I think these things were maybe only like $7 to $10 a piece, I want to say, which is pretty inexpensive for a foundation brush. I really, really like it a lot, and it is like the perfect shape to do any sort of foundation application on my clients. This is also another step that I'm doing right now that you guys could probably benefit from. So instead of using a lighter shaded concealer to carve out the brows, I usually just take the actual foundation shade and kind of carve out the tops of the brows just so it doesn't look like there's something super light above it and it doesn't look like it's the wrong color. Next, I'm going in with concealer. I'm taking the Too Faced Multi-Use Concealer and I'm going in with the shade Cloud, and I also mixed it with the shade that's one step darker than that, and I don't remember the name off the top of my head. Again, I will be linking all these products down below, so in case my memory fails me like now, then you guys will have a reference point for it down below. So I'm going in with the shade here, and I literally thought this was going to be super light for her because I was looking back at the footage and everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so light. And it looks like it is pretty light right now, but just wait till like the very end because it all does come together, I promise. As you can tell, I'm kind of using this concealer shade to highlight certain areas of her face. So I took it right down the center so light can naturally reflect off of it, and I took it right underneath her eyes as well. Then I'm going kind of right under where the contour should be, and I usually do this as a step afterwards with powder, but I decided to kind of try something different, and I wanted to do almost like a reverse contour with this one, and it looks a little bit more natural just because I actually used foundation and concealers instead of, you know, trying to do it with powders. I do still do this step with powder, but I just kind of wanted to try it and see if I liked it, and it honestly did turn out really good at the end. So I might start adapting this a little bit more with my clients because I do like the way it turned out. Again, I usually recruit models like this because I want to try out different techniques and everything, or different things that I see other artists do, and I just kind of want to get more practice with myself. So then next I'm going in with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder, and I'm going in with the shade Fair. I think it might be called Light or Fair, not really sure. But I'm using that to set right underneath her eyes. Again, this is a really useful powder for people that have drier skin because it almost goes on, I don't even know, it's super lightweight. It's not very powdery looking, and it's not really heavy at all. So I'm basically just going underneath her eyes, setting them, and then going where I put the concealer down. So I'm going right around places where she might possibly get oily. Again, she has drier skin, so she may or may not get oily, but sometimes people with dry skin still get oily when they have makeup on. Next, I'm taking that same powder and just using a fluffy brush there and just going all over the rest of the areas of her face. I just don't want that to be as concentrated because I noticed that she kind of is a little bit drier right on her forehead and then also kind of on her cheeks as well. So I just wanted to make sure I did like a light dusting of powder so it wouldn't look too heavy or cakey on her. Then I took a mix of the Anastasia contour shades. These are just the powder contours. So I'm going right underneath her cheekbones and then along the perimeters of her hairline there, right into her temples and everything. And yeah, it just kind of defines the look of your face a little bit more when you do contour a little bit, because you lose a lot of the dimension in your face when you do foundation overall. It kind of tends to flatten out the face a little bit more. So right now you're just basically bringing back definition when you contour. Now I'm taking a combination of the Alamar Cosmetic Blush Trios, and I'm so sorry for saying a combination of things because I do tend to use a combination of a lot of my things. I kind of just swirl my brush all around and just slap it on, but it tends to look the most natural that way. Next, I'm taking the Huda Beauty Loose Powder, and this is in the shade Sugar Cookie, and I'm putting it on a disposable wedge sponge here and just defining the contours a little bit more, pretty much where I put the concealer down. Now I'm going in with my favorite thing, which is highlighter, and I'm using the shade Soft and Gentle by MAC. It's one of their mineralized skin finishes, and it's honestly probably the most popular bridal highlighter I've ever come across because it's absolutely gorgeous. And I have refilled this powder multiple different times now. So I'm going right on the cheekbones here, on the high points of her face, on her temples, right down the center of her nose, and I'm just using this to basically highlight places that the sun would naturally hit a person so it looks the most natural. Next, I zoomed in a little bit more, and I actually took a deeper brown shade in that neutral matte palette from Viseart, and I'm just taking that on a little tiny brush and going right underneath her lash line, again with one single color. Then I'm using a little tiny brush there just to put on lower lash mascara. And she does have gorgeous lashes to begin with, which I'm super jealous of, by the way. I always tell her that every single time I do her makeup, and she's probably annoyed with me by now. Now I'm just using a clean fluffy brush here and just wiping off the excess powder that I had for the bake underneath her contour. Next, I'm going in with the NYX lip pencil, and this is in the shade Mauve. It's actually a really gorgeous bridal lip color. You can literally put this all over your bride's lips and just fill it in and throw a gloss on top, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Sorry my camera was not focusing. I I kept getting my head literally in the way of the camera the whole entire time, so I apologize for the fact that it's not focusing when it needs to. Next, I went in with the MAC lipstick in the shade Creme de Nude, and it's been such a long time since I've used this color because it's so light, but I wanted to keep this look as light as possible. Again, just kind of have emphasis on the lashes mostly, and just keep everything else super natural. So I just wanted to go in with a lighter lip color like this, and it looks so great on her skin tone, honestly. And now I just used a setting spray here. This is the Scandinavia Bridal Setting Spray, and we are all done.
Wow. Girl, I swear, you're getting better every single time. See, I like it because I feel like it's more like natural. I don't even look like myself. I look hot.